Welcome back to Vancouver Carpenter. So today's video is 10 old school tips on exterior wood trim. So this video is not about actually installing the window or the rain screen. There's a lot of good videos about that on YouTube. So in this case, the rain screening and the window was already installed before I got here. So I'm left to install the trim, do my best, and caulk the rest. So yeah. You want to think of these as more like, your dad's or your grandpa's old school tips that you're going to be learning when you're trimming out a window at the cabin or something. And I'd love to be able to show you guys more of this, but we have kind of a weird angle here. So check this out. There's the camera. Here I am up off the ground. And here's the window. So even in wide angle, that's the closest I can get to it. So there's no way I can show you guys the whole thing. But anyways, let's get right to it. I gotta check my notes here. We got 10 tips. Okay, the first one is think like a drop of water. So there's a couple things you need to know about a drop of water. And one is that it can get in behind almost everything. And also, it doesn't always only go down. Sometimes when you've got two pieces of material making contact, it can even go up a little bit, so it kind of wicks. So that's definitely something to consider. You want your flashing and everything going up as far possible as you can get it so that if it does start to wick, it can't get really far up. So I thought like a drop of water and made sure to get that flashing underneath the old tar paper and the old flashing. Sadly, I wasn't able to get the flashing up super far, so what I chose to do was put the flashing underneath the top piece of trim, which I've seen done in a lot of places, even on new builds, so it's not something out of the ordinary. Okay, I think we're getting on to tip number 3. So that is to bevel the top piece of trim. So I put a 5-degree cut on all of my trims, so whether it's on my sills, these, and on the top piece, my header. So there's a 5-degree slope because if a drop of water hits it, it's going down instead of just sitting there in a pool or going back under. Okay, tip number 4. Guys, this one is super important. Prime all of your bare wood. I don't care how well you paint it. I don't care how well you caulk it. There's a chance that bare wood, especially the end grain, is going to take up some water if you don't prime it really well. So I personally like to use a really good, like bin 1, 2, 3, something like that. Sometimes I'll even use a shellac-based painter and oil, but I prefer the latex because it's not stinky, dries really fast in this hot weather we have right now, and it's an easy cleanup if anything happens. So I prime all of my bare wood and end cuts before I assemble everything. I don't care if it's going to be behind paint and caulking, I prime it. Okay, tip number 5, make sure that your sill is sloped and that you give it a drip edge. So the drip edge is this little bit right under here, and what's going to happen is when a drip of water starts to go under, it hits this little thing and it can't make it up past here. It just sort of naturally stops and drips down. So that was really easy for me to do. After I did my 5-degree cuts on both sides of my sill, I just pushed it through the table saw with a little kerf. So no big deal, 1/4 inch deep or so. And even that, I did my best to try and get paint into that. All right, tip number 6 is definitely an old school one. I learned this from my dad when I was a little kid, and that is blunt the tips of your nails, especially on the ends of your boards, like at the top and bottom of your boards or the ends, because when you blunt those, it's way less likely to split the wood. It crushes the grain as it goes through it instead of splitting it. Number 7, again, is definitely an old schooler tip and can come in handy in many situations. Pre-nail your boards, especially if you're up on a ladder or in an awkward space. Pre-nail your boards, at least the very ends, if not the whole board. And then you get it up there and the nails are just barely poking out the back or almost. And then all you have to do is a couple of quick hits and all of a sudden that thing is in place and your hand is free to either stabilize you on the ladder or do something else like grab more nails. So pre-nailing your boards. I do this all the time in so many different circumstances, whether I'm forming, framing, finishing, it can come in handy in a lot of different circumstances. So pre-nail your boards. Okay, number 8, make a groove on the back of your boards if you have the time, or add shims. So what I'm talking about is we got the flange of the window, which sits out about 1/8, and then the person that installed this actually used drywall screws. So that meant that I lost a 1/4 inch of space. So either I had to add a 1/4 inch strip along this side to nail onto, or what I chose to do was just quickly rip it off the back of this piece. And then I did, again, pre-prime that piece. I wasn't doing a production whole house. I had the time to make sure that I took really good care with these. And then the next thing I did, so this is kind of part of the same whole thing, is these ones that look like they're going through the nailing flange of the window. what I actually did is I actually angled those ones. Even though I wish they were going straight in to give it better holding power, at least the appearance of the nails looks better because I can still see these finished nails a little bit. All right, we got a few more tips here. Number 9, scrape off all your loose paint and pre-prime it. So I made sure to do that to anything that was, you know, bare wood. I primed it with the same paint that I was priming the fascia with. And lastly, once that's dry, caulk everything really well. And you got to think about it, you know? So I'll show you guys how I did this in a second. But before I do, one other thing, fixing donkey tracks. So what's a donkey track? Well, it's when you're hammering and you miss and you hit the wood. Why is it called a donkey track? Because only an axe would do it. And yes, I guess I did do it. So the easiest way to fix that is with a little bit of caulking and then to take like a cedar shim or something and just wipe it off with that. Because it has a slightly jagged edge, once you wipe this off, it really matches the comb face trim. So lastly, before we go, I'm gonna take the camera and go around and take a look at all this and see what I chose to caulk and yeah, what it looks like. Anyways, I gotta stand up and get this camera off the tripod. Okay, so getting back to that trim detail. So this is a high back flashing, so it's not like it's only going to right here. It's going to probably about right here. And at the top, I chose to caulk it quite heavily because now that's kind of gonna have to act as my flashing. I used for caulking this stuff, the Dynaflex 230, because it cleans up easy with water, but it's, you know, fairly siliconized, so it has a pretty good flex. For the flashing, I kept it pretty simple. I just made a little cut so it's got a little lip here, and then I caulked the edges in there and even at the top so that the water can't get in there. But if anything does get in, it can still come out down through here. As for where the new trim meets the old siding, I did a nice thick bead. So whenever I'm doing exterior work, I can tell you the beads of caulking definitely get a lot fatter, and I make sure to leave a lot on there so that it has more flex, won't crack as easy, and just better water resistance. Got under here where it gets really thick. I don't even know what you guys can see because I can't bend down far enough to see it. And I even chose to caulk the inside gap where the vinyl window meets here. And the reason I did that was because I didn't feel like the rain screening was the best possible job that could have been done. So again, do your best and caulk the rest. So I made sure to seal everything up as much as I possibly could. Even this one, which I super debated whether or not I should do that one, but I just thought, you know what? At least this way, any of this sitting water down here is not going to be able to sneak up in behind there. But normally, I might actually leave this one open. Didn't today. So that's what it looks like. I really wish I could give you guys a shot of the window, but I'd have to jump into the neighbor's yard. Not going to do that. All right, you guys, so that was my roughly 10 tips, old school tips on how to put wood trim on windows on an old house. Anyways, maybe one of these days we'll get some nice new work and I can show you guys the whole rest of the process. But yeah, in this case, we're just doing the best we can with what we got. And personally, I'm pretty happy with it. So now it's time for me to get inside here and trim out the inside of this thing, which we won't be doing on camera. Maybe I'll show you a real quick clip, what it looks like on closeout of this video. Here is the window in question, you guys. All done in the most echoey room in the house. Anyways, let's take a quick up close look at it, and then why not take a quick look at this whole job? I'll show you guys everything I've done here. So it's just that same old Vancouver trim here. Did the old CA glue on the miters. Everything came out real nice. Got everything going right up into the corners the way I like it. Boom, boom. Good down there. Oh, little gap. That's okay. Painter can caulk that. We got pretty big overhangs to match the existing house. We've got the window stool. Yes, I know, you guys. So that's that. Use CA glue on those ones this time today. Okay, but what did we do on this job? So I actually made this cove here. It's kind of hard to see unless you actually look in the corner. But there it is. So the wall was framed and boarded when I got here, but I made this cove I may have edited a video about this drop. I have no idea. And I had to find a trim that matched this picture rail as close as possible and cope it. It's not perfect, obviously, but it's the best I could find and it looks good from down here. Got this door that was cased out right here. This is the one with the double reveal, so you guys can see how that looked painted up. It's looking pretty good. And we got the tapered shim door here. Let's see how this one ended up looking, because, oh, and that big plaster wall float. Yeah, oh, well, the camera's fritzing out, but there it is. Okay, let's check that out, because it's actually not that bad. So as you can see, there is a little line there, but if we back up a little bit, it's not too bad. Definitely good enough for the job that it is. If you really wanted to, because that's caulked, now we could just fill that with like Dynapatch or Drydex and actually sand and feather out that little seam. And I don't think it would crack because it has caulking in it. But we didn't need to do that for this job. That would just be too crazy. So instead of the double reveal, it's just like a long leg of that casing. And again, in this room, we have another cove. Oh, come on, camera. You need more light to focus, don't you? But yeah, we got another cove in this one. So the same thing. And I also had to patch in this floor, but because it's just an old rental, this is all the homeowner spec'd. And my son actually nailed those floorboards in, and he nailed all the baseboards and that wall trim up there. So that was my son who nailed all these on. I cut, he installed. It's pretty cool. 12-year-olds are useful. And of course, there's this room that we did the way too long baseboard video in. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that yet or not. And that's it. This whole job's now done. I can enjoy the rest of my summer. And by that, I mean edit and upload videos for the entire rest of the summer. But I'll probably be skating a bunch in between. Anyways, that's it for this job and the, you know, old school window exterior trim, whatever it was. I think the smoke's getting to me, guys. Vancouver's smoky. You can't even see the mountains today. And the sky's just sort of grayish. We got the golden light coming in everywhere from the smoke. Yeah, somewhere's on fire. Anyways, I'm not on fire because this outro is rambling on. So I'm gonna go. I hope your project's doing really well. I wanna say thanks for watching Vancouver Carpenter. Till the next video. Have a good one, you guys.